Hello and welcome you to the new session of New Energy to Knowledge Partnership. Today we are going to talk about the topic of emerging data center trends shaping the power backup industry. My name is Vineet. I'm Country Head Marketing at Numeric. And today we have two esteemed panelists, Mr. Mahesh Trivedi and Mr. Sudipta Sanyal. So I would request the panelists to introduce themselves and then we start the session. Mr. Mahesh.
Yes, thank you. This is Mahesh. I've been in the data center industry 25 years plus. Was primarily with colo providers, hyperscalers, designing, building and operating data centers. We have delivered up to 250 megawatts of data center over the past few years. And it started all with the retail, and then now we are doing hyperscalers to the tune of 75 megawatts, a single hyperscaler, single building. So that's the scale we have seen in India of the data center growth.
Perfect. Mr. Sudipta.
Yeah, my name is Sudipta Sanyal, and I started my career in 1982 with a consultancy company in a power sector. And then I moved to Voltas, Immersion, IBM, and finally I retired at Sterling Wilson. Presently I am working as an advisor, principal consultant to Orient Pro. Orient Pro is an IT company. They are IT service provider, and they also provide consultancy services, including data center build for enterprise clients. Through my 42 years, I have worked in many hyperscale colo data centers, including Reliance Jio data centers which came up. Multiple data centers came all across India. So this is my brief introduction.
Thank you so much for both of you to join us today. I am very happy and excited to have you both on the panel with your huge experience and expertise in the industry. I think this is going to help our audience know more about the industry and how the data center is impacting us. So my first question is to Mahesh, to you. And the question is, the rapid growth in demand for data centers in India is evident. We are growing at a very fast pace. How are we keeping pace with this acceleration? And do you believe our delivery speed aligns with the swiftly increasing demand?
Yeah, so there's been a sudden spurt in the data center demand over the last 5 years, I would say, in India, thanks to the hyperscalers. Some of the demand got, built up because of the COVID and the supply chain issues post-COVID, right? So right now the situation is that all the colo providers, service providers are trying to play the catch-up game. What I mean is that the demand is, say, for example, 100, the availability is 50. So there's always this gap of 50% of the demand in the market. While all the colos are trying to squeeze the timelines of delivery, but there are some finite time you do require to deliver a project. And some of it may depend on the supply chain also, right? And some minimum testing and implementation schedules also. So having said that, we have seen ourselves from a typical time period of 24 months. Right now, the delivery periods are anywhere, very aggressively between 12 and 14 months of the same size of project I'm talking. So the colos are doing their bit. But still, the demand is far, far more and coming in thick and fast. I think it will be a time before that stabilizes because the supply will build up, the demand may taper off, and there are more players entering the market. So right now, if you ask me, the answer is that we are trying to do this catching up. We are lagging behind the demand, but I think it's a matter of time. Maybe a couple of years down the line, it will probably stabilize.
I think very well said. I think there is a huge demand, of course, in the market in India, and there are a lot of players, a lot of data center players which are doing huge effort to reduce the delivery project delivery timelines, and this is helping us grow much faster in this space. So I think this is again going to be a very important factor because it's not only the demand supply in India, it depends upon a lot of global supply chain availability and other logistics issues which might impact. But more or less, I think India is geared up to cater to this ever-growing demand, and I think we are in the right pace to take care of the supply of data centers. My next question is to you, Mr. Dipta. Are the current technology and infrastructure in the UPS industry adequately prepared to address these demands in the data center industry, or do you see a gap in the readiness? Because UPS contributes to almost 17 to 20% in the data center project cost. So how do you see UPS industry is in accordance to the growth of the data centers?
Yes, last 10-15 years, if you look at, there have been a lot of innovation in UPS technology. Earlier, we used to have transformer with transformer UPS. Now the transformerless UPS have come. Then 2-level to 3-level IGBT inverter also have come. Then the modular, obviously transformerless UPS have given a growth to modular UPS, wherein if you look at the power density per unit volume or per unit weight, it has reduced drastically. So there have been a lot of innovation happening. Then specifically on the focus on the efficiency point. Then there are also a lot of algorithm being inbuilt in the control technology. So variable module system by which we can basically putting some active unit and active by combination of active and ready unit. So there have been a lot of innovation and technology. I am sure, I am certain it is up to the basically the present requirement. But days to come, there could be because there is a lot of focus on renewable now. Okay, now renewable means it is a solar and wind energy basically implementation, which will give some kind of a grid instability. So probably the UPS OEM need to think about some sort of a grid interactive UPS, which is a basically bidirectional UPS, where data center can use that benefit also and can use it for revenue generation by giving a power back to the grid during peak load requirement or frequency basically balancing. So that is where actually I think probably in the future that UPS OEM need to gear up with that kind of a technology.
Absolutely. Mahesh, what do you, because you have been buying UPSs for a very long time, so how do you see UPS as an industry evolving with the evolving data centers?
Right now, the modular is the preferred architecture, very simply because it does give a lot of redundancy and hot swapping capability, which is very good for operations. You don't have to take a downtime, and you can balance the load across multiple UPSs and things like that. But as Sanyalji said, probably we are not, when I say we, it's of course the colo providers. I come from that background. So we are not utilizing the entire potential of that. There has to be a good algorithm and a good programming around it, so that you don't have to worry about optimizing the loading, transferring the loads, like probably the cloud does it all the time. If I'm able to relate to a IT equivalent, IT loads can be seamlessly transferred across. You won't even know which Google is serving you the map right now when you inquire, right? The nearest one may not be available. It could be all the way from US you are getting served. Doesn't matter. The architecture is such that you hardly feel a glitch anywhere, right? So probably on the power side, if that kind of a system is implemented by the colo providers, then probably the UPS efficiencies will still improve, and the loading factors will improve. Maybe the life cycles will improve. So that's what I see of the UPS.
So I absolutely agree with you that there is a dynamics changing in the data center industry, because a lot of now data center racks are using UPS, to which I think industry is also catering to those UPSs which are in rack mountable UPSs available up to 30 kilowatt, 40 kilowatt as well today, to take care of the racks, higher racks. At the same time, if you see the data center industry, data centers are going from tier 1 to tier 2, to tier 3 and to tier 4. And then efficiency is very important, scalability is very important. How is modularity and how is the higher efficiency of the UPS becoming more and more important for the data center providers, especially in the hyperscale where the power consumption is huge?
So, see, efficiency is very, very important right now also, because everybody, all the hyperscalers, the colos are having sustainability goals, right? In a way, efficiency of the UPS will affect that sustainability formula somewhere, So, it is important to be highly, efficient. Thankfully, I think the UPS industry is evolving every day as we speak. Gone are the days of the 80s, 88 and 90%. We are close to 96, 97, which is very good, I thought. As regards the modularity, I think that's a good factor for operations, as I keep on saying. Gives a lot of freedom to the operators to hot swap and load balance and, use one module across the entire facility anywhere.
Sure. I think industry is also doing a lot of things. For example, there are products with, for example, us, with the decentralized parallel architecture. So in that scope, if there is a module or if there is no single point of failure, if something happens to a module, the other module will take care of the whole thing. So there is no single point of failure for the whole UPS. I think those kind of technologies have really evolved. And also there are products now coming up with the in-rack modularity as well, wherein you can put it into the rack and then you can keep that UPS as a modular. So Deepta, how do you see the efficiency? For example, silicon carbide technology is becoming more and more popular in the UPS side, which will take the efficiencies to very high levels. So how do you see the efficiency and modularity is going to become very critical for the data center industry, or still it will be monolithic in the central architecture will rule the industry?
See, actually industry adopted modularity. Definitely one of the design criteria is efficiency. But the another criteria, if you look at the business sustainability, okay, the growth actually, the way industry is growing actually, modularity allows the industry to utilize the asset to the maximum capacity. Okay, 80, 85, 90% utilization. And whenever the demand increases, they increase the capacity. It could be vertical modularity, it could be larger capacity, horizontal modularity. Probably in a colo hyperscale, it will be horizontal modularity. Okay, the bigger capacity, maybe 200 kilowatt, 300 kilowatt, horizontal modularity, that will be more, because colo and hyperscale, the capacity requirement is very high. Now, so one point is the business sustainability. Second is definitely, since assets are being utilized at a maximum utilization level, the efficiency becomes very high. And today now there is your intelligent algorithm being inbuilt in, so that, as I said, actually you can put some modules on active mode, some on the ready mode, so that whenever the load requirement comes in, the ready mode can be active seamlessly. Okay, so obviously the efficiency as well as resiliency, redundancy, everything are met actually. So I think modularity definitely will have a greater role in the future. Maybe size of the module may be different. Okay, size of the module may be little higher, may not be 20 kilowatt, 50 kilowatt. Specifically, I am talking about the colo and hyperscaler. Enterprise client may go in for a vertical modularity of smaller capacity. Similarly, the edge definitely the module requirement, number of module requirements, it will be very low. But there also modularity will have a role, because module, if you look at the capacity per volume, it's very high in a module, which is not in case of a monolithic, it consumes a lot of space. And in a edge actually, the component need to be very compact. Okay, so that becomes another criteria actually for. So I think definitely monolithic definitely will have a role. Modularity definitely from the point of utilization point, from the point of business sustainability, from the point of efficiency, I think definitely it will play its role.
See, one more thing on the modularity and edge. See, edge typically has to be a lights out facility. So the more modularity you have, the more redundancy you build in, and you get that much more time to reach that remote site and troubleshoot or replace modules, right? So that's where, if it is designed and placed in a vertical redundancy, growth, Then you have that spare module always lightly loaded or in a sleep mode, as sir said. And then, you get that much more breathing space to say. So I think in edge, it's very important that people generally should choose modularity with a good algorithm and a good, programming where you don't have to necessarily rush immediately even if a module fails. You get that time and you have that built-in redundancy. So I think, that's a big use case there, I'd say.
Perfect. I think from this, the next question is actually about edge computing. So edge data centers. So one side, the colos are becoming hyperscale. So large hyperscale data centers are coming up. At the same time, the edge data center market is also growing very fast. So how do you see future of the edge computing or edge data centers in India in the next 4 to 5 years?
My personal feeling is that, edge will come in a burst. The volumes will be humongous because all of them have announced, all colos have announced we are making 1,000 sites, 400 sites, 500 sites, 3-4 sites at the best happening on the ground as far as I know. And that also very slowly at their own sweet space they are going. It's no real focus or push towards the edge right now. But believe me, it will come in a big wave kind of a thing, is what I feel. And it will be probably sooner than later. So the guy who will, have that potential to deliver will win out again.
From the existing infrastructure of UPS which is available, in the edge computing, what will be the most important factor for the project companies? Whether it is they look in more from the high density or a compact UPSs for edge, or they see more high efficiency type of products, or cost is one of the. So what is the major factor do you see which will drive the UPS buying by the edge computing project companies?
See, edge actually mostly it will be in the remote. The one thing, it need to be very reliable system. Okay, I think focus will be mostly on the reliability part. Okay, because since it is located in the remote area. Okay, that is number one. Number two, the space definitely it need to be a compact because there is a limitation in the space in the edge. And so far as the efficiency, see now it goes by default. See any product actually nowadays the efficiency has to be by default because you need to be a business sustainable. You need to be your environment sustainable. So efficiency definitely nowadays it's a default factor actually to me actually. So definitely it need to be very reliable. System has to be reliable. It should have a capability of remote monitoring. All the facility, all the hardware being installed, it need to be capability of the remote monitoring. Second is obviously it need to be very rugged. It need to interact with as I said, with the smart gate system. Okay, so for limiting the digiset operation. So all these characteristics need to be inbuilt. So efficiency, I think it's by default, it has to be.
I think very interesting thing which you just mentioned, that the edge computing or the edge data centers might be in tier 2, tier 3 data centers. So my question is to you, Mahesh, that in tier 1, when we do hyperscale or colo data centers, which are primarily in tier 1 cities today, from the OEMs or the UPS manufacturers or other component manufacturers, the service availability or the manpower availability to take care of any breakdown is available. They have the spare parts, they have the manpower. Right. But when it will become edge computing or edge data centers, it is across the country, 1,000 sites. Yeah. How important you see is the service piece from the equipment manufacturers important for the data center providers? Because this is rural, this is tier 1, tier 2 locations, and you need thousands of locations, thousands of people. So how do you see it is important?
Very good. See, that's what I said, you should be prepared for it. You should have the readiness to go to the tier 2, tier 3, at least zonal, if not, further down. And that's where you will win if you are geared up to do that and deliver that. See, let's be honest, your UPSs are, researched over a period of time, very mature products, nice components, everything is fine. Still, why we insist on 2 hours replacement and 4 hours repair time and 2 hours resolution and all, right? There's a reason. The end clients of the colos or the hyperscalers are such, stringent on the SLAs. And where will the colos go? They will pass it on to the OEMs, right? That please, you comply and then you win the race. Some of the products we were not buying in my previous organization only because they said our global standards don't allow us to have 4 hours commitment and all. We can't do that. We have a guy based out of Pune, not in Mumbai. Our products hardly fail. But those arguments don't work with the colo and hyperscalers, right? They need that support. It could be purely a mind game, but that's where the industry is. You will need that support always. So be prepared for it. One thing. Second thing is, as he rightly said, and I totally am with him, product, probably not much of a debate there. Efficiency and all, we assume that when you have a big brand name, it will be all there. What we want is in the architect itself, in the design itself, we build a redundancy, and the product has to be very, very reliable, very sturdy, in the sense failure rate should be very, very minimal. And then the IoT part of it. If at all it fails, it should give that alert alarm to your nearest service station where your guy, the message is so intelligent, or maybe he can take remote control of that equipment and find out what he needs to carry along with him. So one shot he gets it replaced and repaired.
Absolutely. So when it comes to service, I think, so we as an organization, we have about 1,000 engineers across the country, probably the largest in the industry to take care of the UPS products. But I see from our perspective that when it comes to service, there are 3 factors in that. One is the manpower. You need to have somebody, if it's a bigger breakdown, has to be closer, available, who can come and see the product. Then I think remote monitoring, which you're rightly saying, is very important, because when you can monitor remotely, then you can preempt that something probably can go wrong, and then you can take care of that. And third is we have solutions like VRA, like virtual remote assist, in which if something happens, virtually we can, there is an app which can get opened at the site. So somebody operating it from a central location can still, over the app, over the video, can correct or tell whether just a press of a button it can be corrected, for example. So do you see that, Sudipta, going forward, these kind of solutions is very important for the especially the edge computing companies, where they have thousands of locations to manage. So do you see that they really need remote monitoring type of solutions, so that at one place they can manage, or VRA type of solutions to sometimes correct the problem by click of a button, not really you have to send somebody, or really number of people has to be across the country?
No, definitely. See, the product need to have that feature, definitely. Because I remember in Europe, actually, long ago, even for servicing of the equipment, cooling equipment, there used to be a remote facility wherein if there is a fault happening in the equipment, the message used to go directly to the service guy. Yes. Okay. And with the indication that what basically failed. Okay. So that service guy understand that particularly which equipment has failed, what are the components have failed. Okay. So they can take a action. Okay. From the remote. Some definitely some faults can be rectified remotely, but there are some major fault probably they definitely need to be attended at site. So there has to be, definitely product has to have a feature. Similarly, you have to, the OEM also need to have a ecosystem, partner ecosystem all across the country. It may not be OEM own stuff. It could be through their service franchise. Okay, definitely they will have a service franchisee on tier 2, tier 3 system. So that kind of ecosystem need to be built up. And secondly, another thing, in a edge data center, I think focus will be more on packaging. Okay, not component basis like UPS. This is my feeling actually. Okay, the edge will be packaged, including UPS cooling unit at a factory, and it will be dispatched. Okay, so there need to be a service franchisee guy who need to have a more or less holistic knowledge about cooling equipment, about the UPS, etc., so that he can be part of a total this service ecosystem. I think that will, because it cannot be component wise, I think. Absolutely. Because in case of edge.
I think this is very well said, because then otherwise it cannot be 5 people attending to the same edge data center. If it can one be expert and he can come and manage the thing, it will be better. Absolutely, I think very interesting conversation. In fact, during the conversation, I personally learned a lot from both of you with your expertise and your knowledge. I'm very thankful and excited to be part of this panel. I'm very thankful for your contribution on these topics. I think this is going to add a lot of value to our audience, and our audience will gain a good amount of understanding how things are shaping up today, how things are going to be in future, and how this rapid growth in the data center industry and data center space is going to be demanding what will happen in the UPS industry, or how UPS industry has to evolve as well along with the data center space. Thank you so much. Thanks to both of you. Thanks Mahesh. Thanks Mr. Gupta. And thanks for joining us. It was a lovely and wonderful discussion. Thank you so much. See you again in the next session.